Now, back to Hillary Clinton's testimony today. And again, please understand where I'm coming from on this. In this cut, that little libertarian twerp, Senator Rand Paul, claims Benghazi is the worst tragedy since 9/11. And he says he would have fired Secretary Clinton following the event after admonishing her for not reading the warnings. Does anybody remember that little note titled Osama Determined to Strike in the U.S.? Does anybody remember weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Oh, my God, they're all over the place. We have to invade. Rand Paul, you ought to take a copy of Atlas Shrugged and stuff it in your mouth, and take a copy of The Fountainhead and stuff it in your other body orifice, and go away, you freak. It's interesting how Hillary answers his question about weapons in Turkey.
Clinton, and I'm glad to see your health is improving. One of the things that disappointed me most about the original 9/11 was no one was fired. We spent trillions of dollars, but there were a lot of human errors. These are judgment errors, and the people who make judgment errors need to be replaced, fired, and no longer in a position of making these judgment calls. So we have a review board. Review board finds 64 different things that we can change. A lot of them are common sense and should be done, but the question is, it's a failure of leadership that they weren't done in advance, and 4 lives were cost because of this. I'm glad that you're accepting responsibility. I think that ultimately with your leaving, you accept the culpability for the worst tragedy since 9/11, and I really mean that. Had I been president at the time, and I found that you did not read the cables from Benghazi, you did not read the cables from Ambassador Stevens, I would have relieved you of your post. I think it's inexcusable. It was a failure of leadership not to know these things. And so I think it is good that you're accepting responsibility because no one else is. And there is a certain amount of culpability to the worst tragedy since 9/11, and I'm glad you're accepting this. Now, my question is the U.S. involved with any procuring of weapons, transfer of weapons, buying, selling, anyhow transferring weapons to Turkey out of Libya?
To Turkey? I will have to take that question for the record. Nobody's ever raised that with me.
It's been in news reports that ships have been leaving from Libya and that they may have weapons. And what I'd like to know is the annex that was close by, were they involved with procuring, buying, selling, obtaining weapons? And were any of these weapons being transferred to other countries, any countries, Turkey included?
Well, Senator, you'll have to direct that question to the agency that ran the annex.
And that would be the CIA, the DIA, Turkey, huh? Does Rand Paul not understand that Turkey can get all the weapons they want and don't want? They are one of the nations that is part of NATO. As far as running weapons into Turkey, well, Hillary punted, but tell me a nation on earth other than, say, Venezuela, to which we are not, okay, China, sending weapons. I mean, what the hell was that exchange? I guess that's Rand Paul sitting there trying to say, hey, boys, rest you boys on the panel here, look down here at me, look at me, look at me. I'm going to ask a big-ass question. Mr. Secretary of State, let me ask something. Any weapons going to Turkey? Why don't you ask if any weapons are going to Israel? Why don't you ask if any weapons are going to just check off any one of 20 or 30 states in Africa? Any weapons going to Turkey? There have been, published reports.
I'm still kind of surprised that there hasn't been more uproar over how many of these neocons tried to reference 9/11, this incident, and compare it to 9/11 as if this is the most important security breach or upset or oopsie that has been made in government ever. And I just keep thinking, okay, well, what about the weapons of mass distraction?
Well, sure.
You know, I mean, how many people? There are a lot more than 4 people dead. I mean, not that any life should be lost ever, but thousands and tens of thousands, and our own troops maimed, wounded, PTSD.
No, wait.
You know,
See, what you're doing...
Palm trees hiding nuclear weapons in aluminum tubes and...
What you're doing, though, Madam Producer, is trying to overlay all this with logical questions and investigations. There has never been a full-blown who's responsible hearing on the attack on this country or the events that led Bush and Cheney to invade another country and murder hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, where is the independent investigatory agency that's looking? Where's the ARB looking into the WMD crap? I mean, you know, how come they want to jump on Susan Rice? What about Condi Rice? Where was the outrage against Condi Rice sitting there up there on all the Sunday talk shows week after week saying, we had very good intelligence. The whole world had the good intelligence. No, the whole world had the lies that we fed them. Still makes me angry.